Hello and welcome back to the Novice Lumberjack, where I'm about to show you how to properly figure out the displacement of your saw, or really any piston and cylinder setup. Okay, so there are various different ways to do this. This is the way that I do this. What I have is a pretty cheapo dial caliper, and it's a digital. I got this from Harbor Freight. It is a General Ultra Tech. Anyways, works fine. First thing you want to do is you want to have your saw set up so that you can actually mess with it. It's important to have the flywheel cover off so that you can easily rotate that piston. It's also important to have spark plug out and the exhaust, the muffler off as well. So here's what we're going to do. Oh, well, first you have to start with having, just a little basic knowledge of what to expect, because these things, it's not going to come out exact. Like I know to expect with this right here about a 32 millimeter stroke. I also know to expect about a 44 to 46 millimeter cylinder size, a bore. I know to expect that. But, if you're going at something completely blind, you're going to get results that, I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's like 44.321. Well, what is that? Well, it's probably a 45. Right? Because like whenever you measure in here, we're going to be measuring a combination of the cylinder and the piston. And you'll see what I mean by that here in just a second. And because of that, you're like, well, what's going on? Well, the cylinder will be set at, let's say 45 millimeter. Well, the piston cannot be the exact same size. It has to be slightly smaller. So 45 millimeter cylinder is probably going to yield you a 44.4 or 44.6 piston. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit shaky, no denying that. But, all right, first thing you want to do, you want to get your caliper and understand how it works. Right? This right here, this knob on top, locks things down for you so that whenever you are, like say, removing it and you bump it, you don't mess up your reading. All right, so we loosen this up a little bit and let's open it. What we notice here is obviously we have this, we can put things inside of this, we can put these things inside of things, and you have this little rod that's coming out on the end. Now that is the tool that we are concerned with. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to try to get that little rod as vertical as we can possibly get it. We're also going to get this part right here, this the actual framework of the caliper, sitting directly at the 12 o'clock position, right there on top of the cylinder, as flat as you can manage. All right, so we're going to rotate this while pushing down on this portion, the bottom portion of your caliper. Make sure it's at a 12 o'clock position up top, and there we go. Oh, that's it right there. That's it. That is our bottom dead center. Let me show you again. Rotate that up. All right. We've got it into the spark plug hole. Bam. We just hit the top of the piston. We rotate. Oh, we're going up, so we want to go down. There it is. There it is. See it happening. Oh. All right, you go by feel right there. That is your bottom dead center. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock this pin. It's nice and snug. Now we pull that out. Now we're saying really close to 52 millimeter right there. What we're going to do is we're going to zero it. I hope you can see that. We zero the digital caliper right there. We put it back in. Again, we are sitting right on top of the piston at this point. Now from here, of course, you unlock your little set screw there, and you hold it from the top. And now we move that piston. See how it's moving the caliper? That long rod, the tail of the caliper, is actually touching the piston. And it's no longer moving. That means the piston's back on its way down. So we can lock that again. Lock it in place. Gently pull it out and take your reading. It is 31.29. 31.29. Now, knowing what we know, and this is why you should have a good feel for this, we know to expect this to be about a 50cc saw. We expect that. And we know that 50cc saws commonly come in 32 millimeter stroke. Husqvarna made some 32.5, and maybe Steel does too, I don't know. But we know to expect 32 millimeter, and this is definitely not 32.5, but it is 31.29. So we can probably chalk that up to a very easy, simple, this is not perfection, neither is this. We're looking at, they aimed for a 32 millimeter stroke. But let's do one more measurement. This time I'll do it quick. Oh yeah, this is a big difference. Okay. So now that I can see, I've had it turned in your direction so that you could see the readout. I need to see the readout because there is definitely differences at the bottom of the stroke. So you want to go as far as you possibly can. Yeah, that was it. There's the problem. All right, that right there is as far as I can possibly go. All right, now we zero it out. So be sure and look at it because you want to see the highest, on the downstroke, you want to see the highest possible length that you can go because that piston goes to the bottom and it's sitting there and it's moving back and forth while the crank is at the bottom of its rotation. All right. Now I've zeroed it out. We're going to press forward and go right, like straight into it. Yeah. Okay. 31.68 millimeters. So 31.68, yeah, you can understand how they were aiming for 32, and it probably is if you use truly good calipers. I don't know. There's a difference too because I'm going in at an angle like that, not measuring it straight up and down. But anyways, so we're going to go with a 32 millimeter stroke. Now we're going to do the exhaust coming in from the exhaust. So exact same thing, but I don't know, it's not exactly the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the back of the cylinder. We're going to put it flat up against the exhaust right there. And we're going to go all the way straight back to the back of the cylinder. There we go. Don't worry about scratching your cylinder. These cylinders are hard enough, you would have to really dig in order to scratch it. All right, now I'm going to zero out my caliper right there. And I'm going to do the same thing, but except this time, I'm going to go to the front of the piston. And here's where what I was talking about, how the piston is smaller than the bore. What we're seeing here is a piston that is reading what we're seeing here is a piston that is reading 43.47 millimeters. And that's some kind of balance in between the piston size and the cylinder size. So you know that if it's more than 43 millimeters, then that's, the piston is smaller than the diameter of the bore. So 43.47 is the measurement that I'm reading. I measured from the back of the cylinder to the front of the piston. And with 43.47, you basically say 43.5 millimeters. They're clearly aiming for a 44 millimeter bore. And they probably have that. In which case, a 32 millimeter stroke and a 44 millimeter bore gives you 48.67 cc's. Now, right off the cuff, you might think, wow, that sounds small. But no, that is a 49 cc saw. They always round up. Why wouldn't they? Sometimes they round up 2 or 3 displacements. But anyways, what we're seeing is a 49 cc saw, which also could be said to be a 50 cc saw. Plain and simple. Now, the formula, if you want to actually get in depth with it, I just use I learned the formula decades ago. I'm old. I learned the formula a long time ago. Nowadays, I just use an engine calculator, an engine displacement calculator online, and works flawlessly. But the formula is volume, right? That's your displacement, equals pi times the radius squared multiplied by the stroke. So it's V equals pi r squared h. So the way to get this, hopefully I'll be showing this, it'll be on the screen for you, right? What you want to look at is you want to find the radius first. The radius is your diameter. It's the diameter of the bore divided in half. So in this situation, we've got a 44 millimeter bore. You take half of that, which is 22 millimeters, and you multiply it by itself. So 22 times 22, right? That's going to give you your r squared. You then take that number and you multiply it by pi. This gives you a certain number. This is going to be up on the screen, right? And then that number, you multiply it by the height, which is the stroke. Now, once you do that, that's going to bring you to the actual results of your cylinder displacement. And you can see that while this saw is advertised as 58 cc's. You see that? 58. It's advertised as 58 cc's. Now, I was smart enough I knew that it wasn't going to be 58 cc's, but I did expect 52. I did. It's not. It's not even 50. It's 49 cc's. So there you have it. What to expect when buying a Chinese saw. They're still good. I mean, or at least this one is. This one is. I have fun with it. But yeah, they lie. Just straight up. It's a lie. I know that they're good at math. Anyways, that's how you measure for displacement. And I know I rambled a lot, but that's kind of what I do. I hope you enjoyed this episode. See ya.